If you Google best investment right now, you'll get a wild mix of recommendations. Some people on Reddit swear silver or rhodium is the next best move. Others might want to ride the cannabis market boom. Some suggest investing in the European Aerospace Defense ETF EUAD to benefit from rising military spending in Europe. And every other week, someone is convinced that Solana is about to triple. Choosing from all of this isn't really easy. And a big part of this problem is figuring out which investments you can trust to grow your money rather than just losing it all. When I started investing, every decision felt like a bet I was placing, with a 50-50 chance of being successful. I was constantly pulled in different directions by online opinions, these dramatic articles, and all these reports that contradicted one another. But in time, I came to see that the world of investing only looks complicated. Once you get the lay of the land, you realize that there are only 3 types of investments you really need. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through all 3 and show you exactly where my own money is, so you know that this isn't just theory. I'm actually following these tips myself. Alright, so let's jump right in. The first investment that I usually look into is some sort of protection investment. These keep your portfolio steady and give you breathing room when the market dips. If you don't have this foundation in place, everything else becomes harder because you're forced to sell at the worst possible time. So for me, I focus on one main option, which is a money market fund. Now, a money market fund is a type of mutual fund that invests in very stable short-term assets like treasury bills and high-quality corporate debt. The return here is pretty modest, but the goal here isn't growth, it's safety and access. So this, or some sort of high yield savings, is where a lot of my community members may put their liquid cash. Essentially, it grows faster than a basic savings account, and the money stays available when life blindsides you and you need cash quickly. And this is typically the first investment that I ask people to set up. You can't put money into anything riskier until you have a real emergency fund. And without it, a single unexpected bill can force you to cash out investments that should have been left alone. Now, the setup is pretty simple. If you want to follow what I'm doing right now, you can open up a money market fund at Fidelity, add money to the account, and then invest it into SPAXX. If you use something like Schwab, then that's totally okay too. Their equivalent is SWVXX. So with SPAXX, it basically invests mainly in short-term government securities and aims to keep the share price stable at $1 while paying a competitive yield. So let's say that you put in, I don't know, $500 into SPAXX. Fidelity takes that money and lends it to the United States government for very short periods of time by buying things like treasury bills and other high-quality cash equivalent assets. As the government pays interest on those loans, that interest gets passed back to you in the form of a yield. So let's say that SPAXX is paying around a 5% yield for the year, and you continue adding $500 each month. You would earn about $165 after 12 months. Your balance would be roughly $6,165 at the end of the year, and the price per share would still be around $1. Now, I know this might not feel life-changing, but that's the point. Your emergency fund isn't supposed to make you rich or anything. It's supposed to stay stable, grow a little bit, and be available whenever you need it. So for me, I would keep at least 3 months of living expenses here if I were a W-2 worker with a stable job. I personally keep 12, and I know that this sounds a little bit crazy, but I do it because it gives me more peace of mind since I'm a business owner. And really, once you cross that, say, 3 to 6 month threshold, then anything above that, you can then move that into the next 2 categories, which we're about to cover. The second investment that I usually have are growth investments. These are the simplest to understand. You put your money into something that has a strong track record of increasing in value, and you stay invested long enough for that growth to work in your favor. Now, of course, you can technically invest in anything for growth. Some people may flip collectibles or trade Pokemon cards, or they might buy and sell rare books and coins on specialty auction sites. But when I'm talking about growth investing, I'm talking about something that's more reliable, like buying shares on the stock exchange. Now, there are typically 2 types of growth investments that I have. The first are ETFs, or exchange traded funds. These are single investments that hold a basket of companies. SPYM, for example, tracks hundreds of large American companies inside the S&P 500. This includes a lot of well-known companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Johnson & Johnson. ETFs make growth investing more stable because the companies inside the fund balance one another out. So if one company drops, then another one may rise. And you're not just relying on one single winner to carry out your returns. So for me, the ETFs that I invest in are SPYM and QQQM. Both are pretty much built for appreciation. They both track groups of companies that have grown steadily for decades, and they're designed to let you ride that long-term upward trend without the stress of picking individual companies. Now, QQQM focuses on the NASDAQ 100 major innovators. These are the companies that have shaped the last 20 years of the tech growth, from cloud computing to artificial intelligence. SPYM, on the other hand, tracks the largest companies in the United States. These firms have long histories of steady compound compounding performance and tend to pull the market upward over time. For my personal portfolio, I treat these as the backbone of my long-term investing. They pretty much just grow in the background and I don't need to touch them unless I have a very good reason. They're also very reliable, simple to manage, and they free up mental space so I don't have to overthink every time the market dips. Now, if you're just starting to invest, I would just begin with ETFs. Once you understand how the market moves and once you've gone through a few ups and downs, then it becomes easier to branch out into individual companies if you're comfortable. And that's the second growth investment, shares from individual companies. When you buy stock from, say, Apple or Walmart, the value of your shares grows as the business grows, increases profits, or expands into new markets. And the upside can be great, but you have to be comfortable with bigger swings. And you need to be sure that the company has a solid foundation. Right now, I own shares of Apple and Walmart, as well as Costco, Nvidia, Microsoft, Oracle, Amazon, and even Waste Management, because it remains pretty steady through good and bad markets. And if you really think about it, garbage is always needed to be picked up, so the market is constantly growing. Now, just so you know, I actually handpicked these companies after doing the research myself. I focus on companies that have been around for decades, survived recessions, generate consistent earnings, and are leaders in their industries. Now, these are known as large cap companies, which means that their market value is in the tens or hundreds of billions. They're also known as blue chip companies, which means that they have long histories of stable performance, strong balance sheets, and reliable management. And once you're more experienced and you're ready to take on a little bit more risk, adding these kinds of individual stocks can make meaningful differences to your portfolio's growth. Now, if you want to get better with picking your own investments in your own portfolio, then I highly recommend that you join my next Beginner's Investing Masterclass. I'll show you how to find the right companies and ETFs for your stage of life and how to vet them so you can grow your money instead of just risking it all. I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to join today or tomorrow. Finally, the last type of investments that I usually have are income investments. You can start investing in this right after you build your emergency fund, or you can focus on this instead of growth first. And really, there's no wrong choice. It just depends on your priorities. Generally speaking, my community members like to focus on growth if they're younger or have at least 10 years that they want to invest for. My other community members like to have more income investments if they're nearing a period where they want to become more work optional, or if they just want to have more cash flow. And in the end, it's really up to you. So income investments do two things. They grow in value over time, and they pay you cash while you hold on to them. And that cash can be reinvested to grow even faster or used to cover living costs, which makes the rest of your portfolio less fragile. So here are the two that I personally use. The first are dividend ETFs, which are regular ETFs that also pay a quarterly profit or dividend. You can take the cash directly or reinvest it to buy more shares automatically. The one that I personally have in my portfolio is SCHD, which holds companies like, say, Home Depot, Coca-Cola, and Chevron. And they're all pretty much stable cash-generating businesses that regularly pay a dividend. The risk is spread across the company, so if Coca-Cola gets hit with a problem, the others keep paying and the fund stays balanced. Since it launched more than a decade ago, SCHD has grown by over 200%. So if you invested, I don't know, like $500 a month since 2015, your total contributions would be about $65,500, and your investment growth would be roughly $135,000, bringing your total to around $200,000. SCHD's current yield is about 3.79%, which means that if you own $10,000 worth of shares, you'd earn roughly $379 in dividends each year. So what can you do with these dividends? Well, first, you can reinvest those dividends and your share count grows automatically. Or second, you can just take it out as cash and you can have a small but steady income stream. For example, you can see the dividend payouts I received last quarter here. These small streams of cash have been a big help to me in the past. I believe high dividend paying ETFs become more important later in life because they provide reliable income regardless of whether the market is up or down. Right now, they're a smaller part of my portfolio because I'm young, I'm just 38 years old, and I'm more focused on growth. But once I reach into, say, my 60s, I'll shift more into dividend ETFs to make my portfolio steadier and more income driven. And other options to consider are VYM and SPYD, which are other solid alternatives for starting out. Now, second are, of course, my favorite, covered calls, which is when you already own shares of a stock or ETF and agree to sell them at a specific price at a specific time. And in exchange, someone pays you cash up front, which is called a premium, which you get immediately. So if I were to use this as some sort of analogy, I would say that this is kind of like collecting rental income. So here's an example. Let's just say that you own, I don't know, 1,000 shares of SPY. Since you can sell a covered call contract for every 100 shares you own, you can sell 10 contracts. Let's also say that SPY is trading at around, say, $660. You can then sell 1-month call options with a strike price of $680. Let's say the premium is, say, say $5 per share, so that's going to be $500 per contract, or $5,000 total. And yeah, that's your income for the month. So two things can happen. SPY can stay below $680, and this is where no one exercises the option and you keep the shares and the $5,000. Or scenario number two, SPY rises above $680. Your shares are going to be called away, which means that you get to sell your shares for $680 each. This means that you make the capital gains and you still get to keep the $5,000 worth of premium. But any gains above $680 are going to be lost. Covered calls are a great way to generate extra income if you're comfortable with the possibility of selling your shares at the strike price. The main trade-off here is that it's capped on the upside. But on large positions, the premiums can add up to pretty good cash flow. So for me, I personally use SPY and QQQ for covered calls. These are the income-focused versions of my growth ETFs, SPYM and QQQM. And I chose them because, of course, they track large established US companies with high liquidity, which makes selling options easier and safer. So basically, this combination lets me capture steady long-term growth through SPYM and QQQM while collecting extra income from SPY and QQQ via covered calls. Now you know exactly what I invest in and why. And really, my goal is to give you a clear picture so you can make your own decisions with confidence, instead of getting pulled into these risky bets just because someone online says it's the next big thing. In the end, you just want to make sure that you invest in whatever you're comfortable with and that you do your own research. Now, if you already have $100,000 saved up in cash that's just sitting in a low interest savings account and need to play catch up with investing because you're older than 40, then you can apply for my one-on-one coaching program. My team and I can create a custom plan tailored for you. And we also coach our students with strategies like selling covered calls. Now, for everyone else who's also just a beginner, you can join my next beginners investing workshop today and tomorrow. And in the class, I can talk a little bit more about portfolio allocation. Click here and I'll see you in class.